Okay, good deal. Good morning, guys. Great to be with you. Again, my name is Ross Kramer, and I live in Lidditz. I grew up in Lebanon County, and I'm the co-founder of a company called Listrak, which is based in Lidditz in northern Lancaster County. Listrak is a digital marketing platform for retailers. We've got about 1,000 different brands. If we went around the room, we could pull out logos and apparel and skincare companies and things like that that are Listrak customers. A couple of the logos are behind us today. Really, this picture is the best kind of synopsis of what Listrak does as a business. We ingest a ton of different types of retail data. So we ingest things like point of sale data at a store. We'll ingest order management data and ERP data. We'll ingest customer service data. We'll bring in data from the e-commerce platform or from mobile applications. So we bring in all different types of data. We bring that data together to really get a picture of our client's customer, and really to get a good understanding of what our client's customer really desires and what they want. We then help our customers better understand who their customers are through insights. So we give them data exploration tools to be able to better explore their data. We build a lot of different artificial intelligence modules to be able to, and models to be able to personalize the marketing experience, and then we help to execute marketing channels or execute marketing across channels. So email, for example, Listrak will send this month about 5 billion emails to retailers that you guys would all shop with, for example. We send a ton of SMS messages as well. We push display ads. We push data out to Facebook, out to Instagram. We help to personalize the retailer's web experience and make the social experience a little bit better. So that's a kind of a brief snapshot of who Listrak is. I'd say also, guys, as kind of I go through the talk this morning, if you guys have questions, feel free to make it interactive. I'll try to address it as best as possible. Any questions on kind of what we do as a business so far? All right, no hands yet. Ultimately, what we do when we engage our customers is try to make them better marketers every day. Kind of sort of what we say, we want to be a better version of ourselves tomorrow, right? That's what we try to make out of our clients. And we have this marketing maturity model where we try to get them from one level of maturity up to the next level. So a lot of customers will come to us and they've got kind of a basic understanding of marketing, and we try to move them up the level from personalization to AI to really data-driven campaigns and things like that. So, but let me kind of go into the story a little bit. I was kind of running the math, and I started my first business in 1994, which means like almost maybe Dimitri was alive at that time, but otherwise everybody else was not alive, which makes me a dinosaur, for better or for worse. So when you guys were a twinkle in your parents' eyes, okay, it was 1994. And in 1994, this lady named Nancy Kerrigan, anybody remember her? You guys ever read about her? She was an Olympic skater. She had just gotten mugged. This guy here, you'll see him on the news sometimes. Newt Gingrich, he was the Speaker of the House. Nelson Mandela, anybody read about this guy? Who was Nelson Mandela? He was the first what? First what? First
South Africa.
Yes, first black president of South Africa. Good job. And this guy was filling our news. Who was in this thing? Who? Yeah, the Jews. OJ. Anybody remember who was driving? Al Cowlings was driving, and O.J. Simpson was on this slow-speed car chase. These were all the things that filled the headlines in 1994. I was starting my first business in Shaperstown, about, 20 miles or so from here. I was a high school senior. I grew tired of giving away free advice, and I decided I was going to sell computers to my friends and and neighbors. And the local newspaper, the Lebanon Daily News, that was a thing. I guess it's still a thing. But there was surely more of a thing back in those days. The local newspaper came and did an article about me, and you can see in the headline here, Elko Sr. operates his own business. The business then moved, so I graduated, I kind of built the business in high school, and then I went on to Penn State. So I went up to Penn State. I don't know if you guys heard, but when I was introduced, I was not introduced as Dr. Ross Kramer. I went to Penn State to be a physician. The professors, I don't know if this ever happened to you guys here on campus, but the professors very quickly realized you are not cut out to go to medical school, Ross, and I was quickly weeded out of that program. But the business came along to Penn State. This is kind of my first office at Penn State. A couple of the apartment dwellers hanging out of the window. And I've got to say, when I was in high school, the inspiration for the business was really that I was a wee bit entrepreneurial. I was tired of giving away free advice. I wanted to make some money without maybe mowing yards or waiting tables or things like that. But when I went to college, maybe similar to you guys, the main inspiration for the business at that time when I went to college was really to fund the beer parties. That was really, I was hoping you guys would laugh. I give this talk to like old fuddy-duddies and they laugh more than this. This is like a picture of later tonight, is it not? So this was really the main inspiration for the business in the mid-90s. But the internet was just getting going, just getting its legs. There was a lot of work to be done on the web, and I pivoted my computer reselling business to really being a business to build websites. And we built websites essentially for beer money. And then after that, I graduated, so 4 years at Penn State, graduated. I came back, and my dad and I convinced my dad to quit his good job at the bank and that we were going to really make a go of the business in a serious way. And we got our first office. We were really proud of our first office. This was going to be like the first real kind of place that we could go and work. And so we were proud of the office, but the office was not a great office. This was the first one. And while the first office had a number of amenities, like as you can see here, outdoor dining, the one thing that it lacked was inside access to a bathroom. So if you had to go to the bathroom, you had to go out the door here, down the steps, and around through the front door, because our landlord was too cheap to cut a hole in the wall so we could access his bathroom. But this was kind of, every startup has their own startup lore. This is sort of our startup lore in our first office. Today we've got a pretty massive office. So this is a flyover of our current office, about a 90,000 square foot commercial office building, which is really great. Encourage you guys to all come and visit sometime. We've got a restaurant inside, and a coffee bar with a barista. It's a nice place it's surely a nice place to work. The company has grown as well. Really, we want to do three things at Listrak. Three major things that we want to do. First and foremost, we want to help our customers grow. That's the biggest thing that we want to do, is help our customers level up, move up that maturity model. As we help them move up the maturity model, we're going to help them grow their businesses and help them scale their businesses from a digital marketing perspective. The second thing that we want to do is create great opportunities professionally and personally for our 300 plus team members that are all across the country. We've got so we're based in Lititz, but we've got an office in King of Prussia. We've got an office in Newport Beach, California as well. One of the reasons that we're in King of Prussia is it gives us great access, close access to a lot more specialized talent in the Philadelphia region. And the reason that we're in Newport Beach is that at 5 o'clock tonight, it's still 2 o'clock in California. So we've got a lot of West Coast customers that still need support on West Coast hour. So while we're eating dinner, it's still business time for those guys. So that's why we're out on the West Coast. So first thing, help our customers grow. Second thing is create great opportunities for our employees. And then the third thing that we want to do is give back. is give back from a corporate citizen perspective in the places where we work and where we live. And we've got a volunteer time off program where you get a certain number of hours that you can go and give back time at some of your favorite charities. So that's a little snapshot of kind of who the business is and what we are. Any questions so far? How am I doing? Okay? Okay so far. All right. Keep going or stop? Keep going. Great. I've got kind of a collection of themes for you guys today, but the primary theme is the concept of change. And we've got a saying at Listrak that we probably don't say often enough, but it's an understated saying, which is the only thing that's constant at Listrak is change. And I think the biggest opportunity that all of you guys have in the room today is to really harness the changes that are happening in society and the world outside of these walls. The world turns every day. Changes are happening. Your ability to take advantage of those changes is really going to make the difference, I think, in the kind of overall, perhaps, professional success that you have. And if you go back and you look at that old picture, that old photograph that the newspaper took, you can think about what's changed in technology. And I know some of this stuff, some of the technology that was in that photo didn't even exist. Like you don't even have any concept of this, but I'm telling you, it was a thing. There's a photo of it, right? We have photographic evidence that we did things in the 90s, like for some reason, we put a screen in front of our screens. Anybody have like grandparents or anything like that have that old desktop computer with a screen on their screen? Has anybody ever even seen that? Professor Dimitri remembers why we did that. I'm not quite sure. There was something about anti-glare. I think somebody was just trying to sort of pull the wool over our eyes with that technique. But that was a thing that we did. You guys have absolutely no concept of this because every device that you have access to magically is connected to the internet, either via LTE or via Wi-Fi. But back in the day, we had to connect to the internet via a modem. This thing, a modem that tied up the phone line. But so that has changed. The way that we access and connect to networks has changed. The physical manifestation of sort of what we do digitally in printers. We have these things called dot matrix printers that went. So that has changed. I had a 7-disc CD changer in my office at that time. We don't use CD changers anymore. We just sort of pull out our watch or our phone or some other device, and magically music streams to us across the internet. So that has surely changed. So technology changes, but maybe you're not a tech nerd like me. Maybe you're into fashion. Well, fashion has changed. Fundamentally, nearly everything in the fashion world has changed in the last 25 years or so. And you look at this picture, this sweater was a Christmas present given to me by my high school girlfriend at the time. So you've got this baggy Gap sweater with a turtleneck. Anybody sporting a turtleneck in here today? No. 25 years ago, half the class would have been wearing turtlenecks. You guys would have been hip and fashionable. So fashion changes and supply chains of how fashion is delivered. The whole economic model of fashion. That turtleneck and that sweater together was probably $80. Today you can roll into Forever 21 and get an entire new wardrobe for $80. Am I right? Or close? Yes, I've got some heads shaking, yeah. So that has changed. The supply chain, vertically integrated fashion retailers and fashion design houses have fundamentally changed. When you think about it, in healthcare, that was kind of my first passion was I thought I would go into healthcare. Turns out I didn't have what it took between the ears to do that, but healthcare has changed. I wore glasses at the time. Since that time, I had a laser shot into both eyes for about 45 seconds each. I magically don't need to wear glasses anymore. So that's changed. Healthcare has fundamentally changed. Now, perhaps you're change adverse. Perhaps you're like my sister who just likes things exactly as they are, unchanged. What hasn't changed? Furniture. Turns out you can buy the same crappy furniture at Staples.com today. So there are some industries that don't change. Furniture would be one of these. I think this desk was, probably something like it was in a classroom up at Penn State 25 years ago. So there are some things that don't change. But what I would encourage you guys to think about, and as you kind of look at this old school black and white picture, and you think about this kind of old guy that's up here talking to you guys, you will have your own picture, and consider your own picture. This is a sample picture of what campus could look like today, right? Lots of kids walking around like this. We're tuned in, we're wearing headphones, we've got phones, we've got tablets, we've got laptops. I am here to tell you, one of you guys is going to come back and it's going to be standing here in 25 years, and you're going to put this picture up here and you're going to be like, this was old school. Does anybody remember tablets? Does anybody remember when we actually used phones, when we made phone calls on phones? How about these things called headphones? Like, we don't use headphones anymore. So this will change. It will absolutely, absolutely change. You guys have the opportunity to take advantage of that change, because it will be changing. Your ability to see those changes and either from an entrepreneurial perspective, latch onto them, or as you think about contemplating going into the job market, understanding companies that have a good understanding of how the world is changing, or even inside of the companies, getting into departments that are harnessing that change and being part of the future is, I think, going to be a big piece of your success. So consider your own picture, because this will look like a dinosaur portrait when you come back to campus in 20 years. I promise you that. One of the things I did want to talk about was what's happening in healthcare disruption, and just me personally. I did talk about the concept of healthcare disruption and glasses. So everybody here has got Netflix. You're probably all using probably 4 shared accounts. Is that true? Yes, everybody in the room? 4 shared accounts. But Netflix is great, right? So Netflix is fantastic. Gives us access, on-demand access to lots of shows and entertainment and things like that for a subscription. We don't have to pay by the drink. We've got one subscription that we can get access to. So this is my doctor. So this is my doctor, Chris Hager. My relationship with my family doctor, Chris Hager, is now on a subscription basis by which we've got a mobile app, and if I ever need to communicate with Dr. Hager, I pull my phone out, and through sort of a direct message via the app, I can direct message him back and forth, and he can direct message me back. And I think this is one of the ways that sort of primary care medicine is going to be delivered in a subscription basis, where doctors can get back to having a relationship with you. One of the challenges with today's modern medicine is they've got to crank through all of these patients in order to hit their billable quotient, and they really can't have a relationship. And I think just the way that music or movies has gone in subscription, I think other industries are going to follow that subscription model and that recurring revenue model, and healthcare is surely, I think, one of those ways that's doing that, and I'm personally a part of that. Professor Dimitri said you guys talked about predictive analytics and AI and that type of stuff here. Yeah, true story. So I wanted to talk a little bit about AI. AI seems to be one of the more kind of newfangled things, hot buzzword types of things out in the industry right now. I think the truth of it is that a lot of the technology in AI goes way, way back, many years, 50 years, 100 years, maybe even hundreds of years. The principles of artificial intelligence go back for a long time, because it's really just complex math. Sometimes it's simple math. One of the differences has been that the data sets that we now have are a lot more accessible, and the ability to process those large data sets at places like Amazon's cloud or Azure or things like that have become a lot more accessible and a lot more affordable. So While AI might be the new fangled thing, it's really an old school practice, and there's some learnings that can be made when looking into the history and the roots of where AI came from. The other thing that I've been thinking about a lot as it relates to AI is I believe that it has roots back into the Industrial Revolution as well. So if you think about the last Industrial Revolution, what was happening was most of the labor that had to be executed in the world was either human-powered or animal-powered. What happened with the Industrial Revolution was this concept of electricity. So once Westerners got their hands on electricity and the electric motor, they were able to take a lot of, you think about just pumping water. We take it for granted. This morning you guys got up, you flipped on the faucet to brush your teeth, water came out of that, and you were able to brush your teeth. But you go back 200 years, you would have had to go outside and hand crank or hand pump water to get it out of the well, okay? And it would have taken you X amount of time to do that. Now, you're able to flip the faucet open, water comes out, brush your teeth, you're able to go on and do more creative things in your day versus worry about where your water is going to come from. The Industrial Revolution allowed that to happen because electricity now powers an electric water pump that pumps the water up and you can brush your teeth. I say this all because I think where the world is going is in the same way that every manual process, whether it was a knitting mill, a water pump, or every other process in manufacturing, drill presses, things like that, hammers and nails, every process that was manual got an electric motor attached to it. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes you'll be like, when you're like working on spreadsheets or working on PowerPoint presentations, or maybe you're working on essays, and you'll think, boy, is this monotonous. Have you guys ever like worked on spreadsheets of, this is monotonous? And wait till you get out into the workplace. Like, it's even worse out there, okay? What needs to happen is the monotonous tasks of some of the things that we do as professionals need AI machines connected to them to help us do those monotonous tasks. So in the same way that we were able to very quickly brush our teeth and go on to more creative things, that an AI will allow us to do statistical analysis much easier, allow us to do text analysis much easier. An AI could read a chapter of text and distill it down to just what we need to know so we can move on to do more creative things. That's what's going to be needed next. That's the next wave, are these AIs being plugged into white-collar, professional types of things and tasks that we do in the workplace in the same ways that electric motors were plugged into blue-collar tasks 100 years ago. Does that make sense, guys? Okay, so we'll, and I also think, we use AI in our normal, normal daily routine a bunch, like GPS routing instructions, so Waze. So I use Google Maps to get here today, but AI helps us do path routing and GPS routing our cars. We use AI for natural language speech processing. Alexa, this is Google Assistant. And here's a good one, howold.net. Anybody ever used this site? It's kind of an oldie but goodie. My wife really loves it because it thinks that she's 27. But it uses a neural net. She's actually like 43, but it thinks she's 27. She loves howold.net. But it uses a neural net to try to understand how old people are by their pictures. And while AI has come a far way, we still have some more distance to go with computer vision, like telling the difference between a labradoodle and a piece of fried chicken, right? So AI still has some challenges there. Or how about the ability to spot a barn owl from a slice of an apple? Or my kid's favorite, which is the difference between a chihuahua or a blueberry muffin. So we still have a little ways to go with I did want to talk about data a little bit today because I think that's something that is going to be really, really important into the future. And I talked a little bit about the differences in maybe what Alan Turing was doing with that Enigma cipher when he was trying to break you guys saw kind of the video vignette that was playing. That was Alan Turing trying to break the Enigma ciphers against the German army. One of his challenges was he could only process limited data sets. You guys have the ability to process massive quantities of data through cloud computing. You guys have the power to access massive quantities of data. I will tell you this, a lot of the low-hanging fruit out in business has already been kind of thought of, right? There's a number of things where you're not going to be the first person to think of something. And that's been going on for a long time. What the world is going to desire are people that can make it better, faster, cheaper. That's a big area of the world that you guys are going to need to live in is, hey, this thing that has existed for a long time, it's important, we need to make it better, we need to make it faster, we need to make it cheaper. And many times you can do that through data. And you think about all the stuff and all the technology that you integrate with, and you guys are digitally native humans, right? You don't really know a world that isn't connected to the internet. And you guys are increasingly using IoT devices, you're increasingly using wearables, of course you're addicted to your phones and everything else. All of that is pouring in data. Your cars are more connected than ever. Your appliances are more connected than ever. That data can help to solve some of the world's problems and solve some of the problems of your future employers. I think some of the opportunity may not be just the stuff that's right in front of you, like Fitbit, but it might be things like connecting things that might not have historically been connected to the internet and leveraging that data and mining that data. You'll go interviewing at companies and you'll ask them about their use of data at different companies. And a lot of times companies will say, we're data driven. We're driven by data. One of the things that I like to point out is that it's better to be data led than data driven. So it's better to just from a hypothetical perspective or a hypothesis perspective to understand what the data is telling you and be led by that than versus allowing data to drive you. Because a lot of times you can analyze data and make the outcome of that data need to fit whatever business outcome that you need to get to. But I wanted to bring the concept of the data-led better than being data-driven. I've got a hypothetical sign in my office that says, "In God we trust, all others bring data." And the root of this is that without data, you're really just another person with an opinion. And what you'll find as you go out into the workplace, you'll find that the higher up you go in the organization and in the org chart, the more opinions there are, and the more those opinions will impact the outcome of that business. It's going to be up to you guys to be able to analyze data, interpret data, in order to disprove human opinion. Because there's definitely something to be said about human instincts. There's something inside of us and something inside of our psyche that sort of in a blink, whether it's fight or flight or other types of neural processing that we have instinctively that makes us make pretty good decisions. But armed with mountains and mountains of data and the ability to analyze it very quickly, we can help to move the world forward. And I think this is a good example of that. A couple of things that's kind of made me successful, and then I just want to kind of end with a couple of things that might make you guys successful as well. Love this Gretzky quote, which is, "I like to skate to where the puck's going to be." That's a big piece, and I think that's kind of the nature of my talk today, which is really to understand where's the world going. Where is the world going? How should that shape what major I'm in? How should that shape what internship I'm seeking? How should that shape the types of companies that I'm going after? Which companies are growing? Which industries are growing? What's going to create the greatest opportunity for me and the family that I don't even have yet into the future? I think this Gretzky quote is great. I'll end here and then kind of open it up to some questions with 3 ideas for success for you guys. The first is kind of the idea of love what you do and do what you love. I don't know if there's anybody in this room that's in a major that they don't love, and I don't know if the college would like me to say this, but if you don't love what you do, go down and go to the academic affairs people and get into something that you do love. That's the first thing. I got to Penn State. The classes were hard. I didn't understand what the hell I was doing. I was getting bad grades. It was not a good scene. And it wasn't really my passion. I was really trying to live up to some cultural norm, because in my small town, one of the best, most prolific people in the community was the family doctor. And I was like, boy, that guy's successful. I'll go do what he's doing. But it wasn't me. It was just that guy, right? So you've got to individually understand what do I love, okay? So you've got to go out and find that, and you've got to do what you love. So thus you can then love what you do, because you really don't want your everyday to be a grind. There's a great book that you guys should all read before getting out there and talking to any business person, and it's this book called Good to Great by Jim Collins. Has anybody ever read it? Or okay, we've got a couple of hands go up. So Jim Collins, whether you read the book or maybe you just want to tune into a couple of podcasts, he's got a new kind of smaller book out now called Turning the Flywheel. There's a couple of YouTubes and podcasts with Jim Collins on it. Would really recommend, if you're into business, to check out what Collins has to say. He's been studying successful businesses for the past, 30 or 40 years probably. And he's figured out kind of from an elemental perspective, what makes good companies great, what makes great companies built to last, and the elements of what really keeps companies going. And there's a couple of different models that he's got. One of the models that he has is this concept of a hedgehog concept. And the Jim Collins hedgehog concept is really rooted in business strategy. And this part of business strategy is it's really when a business needs to figure out kind of what they're going to do in their next life, or how they're going to survive the next decade or series of decades. And what it starts with is, hey, so what are we deeply passionate about here at this company? Here at this company, what are we deeply passionate about? What drives the economic engine of this business? Where can we be profitable in this business? And in what areas do we have the expertise where we can be the best in the world? And sometimes you don't necessarily need to be the best in the world. Maybe you can be the best in North America. Sometimes based on if geography is not is an insulator for your business, maybe you can be the best in Pennsylvania or the best in Lancaster, for example. But this is part of the hedgehog concept, and right in the middle is where the win is. Personally, for you guys, there's a personal version of this hedgehog concept that I wanted to talk about. And this is something that I encourage you guys to contemplate as you go through your studies here at Elizabethtown and then head out into the working world, is what do you love? What gifts has God given you elementally, right in your brain, in your psyche, in everything you do? Are you good at art? Okay, for me, terrible at math and science, but pretty good with the yip yap and a couple of funny jokes, right? So, and I didn't see that, right? I didn't see that. So it's important to do a little bit of internal introspection. what am I really good at? Am I good at the yip yap? Maybe I should be client facing. Maybe I should work with customers. Oh, I hate talking to people. People freak me out, but I'm good at math and science. Okay, maybe you want to be an engineer. Maybe you want to be more analytical and go into that. But if you happen to be stuck in a major that's going to require you to talk to people, I don't encourage you to continue down that pathway. So what do you love? What do you really, what do you love to do? What are you good at? Your God-given gifts, okay? And then what pays well? What jobs out there, what opportunities pay well? And in the middle is the personal win. That's really the personal win, is when you can find those three intersecting circles and find it right in the middle. That's where the win is at. Second to last idea that I have for you guys is to get out there and find an amazing internship at an amazing place. I see a bunch of resumes, and it's the kids that have amazing resumes and have amazing stories of the amazing places where they've gotten an internship generally have a better chance of getting hired at my company than someone that hasn't. So I started with go win an amazing internship. Generally, you're not just handed an amazing internship, you've got to go win it. Does anybody know where this picture's from? What movie? Shout it out. Yeah, Shawshank, right. Okay, so Andy Dufresne, he wants to get the library started, right? But what was the problem? What was his problem? He had a vision for a library, but he had no books, right? So does anybody remember how he got the books? How did he get the books? He wrote 2 letters a week to somebody, some congressperson or something like that, hoping to get the books funded. 2 letters a week. He just kept writing the letters. He kept after it. That is what you guys are going to need to do, really, with anything, is channel Andy Dufresne from Shawshank. You think about the things that he did, digging through the tunnels to get out of that place. That is what you guys are going to need to do in order to thrive. And that's what I mean when I talk about going out there and winning an internship. I'm not sure if the Hershey Medical Center was an amazing place. It's a pretty cool place. That's where I did my internship. But I wrote my internship coordinator letters. I sent him things in the mail. I sent him emails. If Twitter existed, I would have followed him, tried to get him to follow me back, and then DM him, right? I would have done all sorts of things, probably save for driving to his house and waiting in his driveway when he came home at night. But these are some of the things that you guys will need to do to overcome, to win an amazing internship. I encourage you to do that. My last thought for you guys, before I kind of open up to some Q&A, is find amazing people on campus. College campuses are chock full of some of the foremost experts of anything in the world. Go out and seek those people. Last night I was at a fundraiser and I met an anesthesiologist and for dentists. And the guy flies all over the country, spends a day here, day there, day there, day there, and does anesthesiology for dentists. I said, well, how'd you get into this? He's like, well, I went to dental school, and I knew immediately I didn't want to be a dentist, but I was stuck in dental school. I was like, well, how'd you get into anesthesiology? Well, I took an elective, right? So I think the elective stuff and finding experts on campus, you might, like your parents might have said, like, you gotta be a finance major, you gotta be a business major. Okay, be a good kid, see that out, okay? But go seek out other people on campus that might be able to fuel your passion. They exist, they have office hours, they might, I don't know if you're 21 or not, maybe they like to drink beer, they probably like to drink coffee, right? Go track them down. I found one of the most amazing, and it's never too late. 4 months before I graduated from Penn State, I found the most amazing professor that helped to shape the first part of my business career just 4 months before I graduated. And he was teaching an MBA class. And I don't know about you guys, but undergrads don't get to take MBA classes. But with enough persistence, I got into that MBA class. And probably doing all sorts of things here in the college and telling you guys things to do that the dean wouldn't want you to do. But my encouragement for you guys is, you know, you're here on campus. You're here for a limited amount of time. Make the most of it. Make the most of every minute that's here. Go seek out and use the resources. Because I will tell you, once you get into the working world, it gets really scant. People, once you get into an organization and you're the low man on the totem pole, there's going to be people that are going to want to help you, sure, but not like it is today. And you can make some great connections and learn a ton while you're here on campus. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys. The last quote is something that my grandfather shared with me before he passed, which is, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life, because it's not going to feel like work. And being with you guys today and working on these slides really didn't feel like work to me. So thanks for your time. I'll open it up to any questions.